Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today, I want to talk about forgiveness. Now, we've all heard many things about forgiveness, and we've heard that it is a good thing to do, and it is recommended by God that we forgive, and recommended by the prophets that we forgive. And I want to just go a little deeper into this dynamic of forgiveness because it is actually, sometimes we think about it like it's a nice thing to do. We should forgive, but we have difficulty forgiving, and we sometimes can't forgive or are not ready to forgive. So it's a process, and one of the things that we can think about in doing this is this idea that when something happens, when an event happens, or somebody says something or does something, or you have this a hurt that takes place, this disappointment, this betrayal, this attack, and you've got a lot of emotion and a lot of feeling, and you feel, sometimes you freeze, or sometimes you just want to fight back, or sometimes you want to just run away and hide and kind of go numb, and things like that. And it sometimes this stuff stays inside us for many years, and we don't even know sometimes that we are even holding on to something that needs to be forgiven. So I want to just go a little deeper into what it means to forgive, and see if that helps dislodge and make things easier. So this idea that we should forgive others for things that are said or things that are done, and so on. It comes from the idea that Allah is forgiving and loves to forgive. And there's a prayer that says, Allah, you love to forgive, so forgive me. And this is a very powerful idea, because what we're dealing with is, from one point of view, we are living in a kind of cause and effect world, a cause and effect universe, where every single one of our thoughts and every single one of our actions has, numerous consequences and numerous effects. So if our thoughts and our actions are causes, those causes have effects in the world. And some of them we can see and can be aware of and can notice. Others we can't tell. We can't tell what it's doing. So, we, sometimes say, say for example, I think of somebody, and I think of something that they said to me, or they did something to me, and I'm like, oh, man, that guy was a jerk. And, so for me, just sitting in my room here, he's not here, the person who did this to me, he's not here. But I've used my thought, the creative power of my thought, to say, he's a jerk. And, or I don't like him. He's not a good guy. Like, wish I didn't have to deal with him. So we've got this, we're causing a thought, and we're speaking some words, and we are kind of sending it toward somebody who is not physically here, but they're somewhere, they're in their home, and they're, whatnot, in their city or a different country or whatnot. And from our kind of physical point of view, we haven't really done anything wrong, right? We haven't really, I'm here in my room. I didn't call him up and call him a jerk, and I didn't send him an email and call him a jerk, and I didn't say it to his face. I'm feeling bad about what happened. So I'm just like, So we don't know what consequences that thought and that word has in the world. And so in our prayers, we say to Allah, Ya Allah, please forgive me. Please pardon my mistakes. Please forgive my sins. Please overlook my trespasses, my transgressions. Please kind of, release me from the, anything that I've done or said or thought that has sent some negativity or some hurt or something out to somebody. Because the thought that I had and the words that I spoke, he's a jerk. And in the world that we live in the universe that we live in, our thoughts and words have consequences for the world, and they also hook back into us, right? So they kind of like, if I say, he's a jerk, they kind of come back and kind of like grab hold of us, that I said, that he's a jerk. And, so now I've got this thing where I'm just like, the negativity that I sent out also hooks back into me. And so we don't really know what this negativity is doing to us. It's going out into the world and it's hooking back into us. And we do this to many people, and we say all kinds of things all day long. And then, so it's all, it's kind of, it's grabbed hold of us, right? So we're walking around like this, and the more and more we do this, the tighter and tighter it gets, and the heavier and heavier we feel. And just, we don't feel good anymore inside. Because, we've sent all this kind of, our own hurt and condemnation and attack and things like that out into the world. And we get heavy with it, and it traps us and it hooks into us, right? And so when we say our prayers, the things that we have said to others, the things that we have done to others come back in our minds, right? And if you're aware of this and you know this, you can tell that if you've hurt somebody and you've said something to somebody, the fact that you did it will come up when you are trying to pray, because Allah is kind of showing you, hey, you've got something that's holding on to you. You've got something weighing you down. And so we say to Allah, we've got these things kind of like tighten around us. And we say to Allah, Ya Allah, please forgive me. I'm sorry I said that. I'm sorry I said that. I don't want to hold on to that. I'm sorry. I said he was a jerk. Like, that's not really what I want to be holding on to. Please forgive me. Please pardon my mistakes and release me from my transgressions. And then you can kind of feel, this stuff kind of easing up and letting you go. And then you can think a good thought about that person. You can kind of send some blessing their way. You can send them at the very basic level what the Prophet Muhammad taught us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum. I wish you peace. I wish you well. And so I want to kind of do a couple things with these two ideas. One, the idea of sin in Islam is very different from the idea of sin that we get from kind of popular culture and things. The idea in sin in Islam is the fact that, you've made a mistake, and it may be a big mistake or it may be a little mistake, but Allah forgives all mistakes. Allah forgives all sins. Sin in Islam is not this kind of heavy suitcase, with 200 pounds, of weight sitting on your back, just kind of crushing you. Sin in Islam is very it's simpler. It's something you thought or you said or you did and it hurt somebody, or it's a hurtful thing to think, or it's a hurtful thing to say. It's important to ask for forgiveness and then kind of try to remedy it, try to undo it, try to do a good thing to overwrite the bad thing. But it's not something that kind of stains you and spoils you and destroys you from the inside. That is not the type of concept that we have. It's not something that permanently scars you. It's more of a, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Please forgive me. And I will not do that again. I will make amends and I will send somebody a good thought. Now, this idea of, the fact that somebody has hurt you um, is, it doesn't mean you need to pretend that the hurt never happened, or that you're immediately forgiving the person, and or in the case of serious situations of abuse and real real serious stuff. It does not mean you don't go to the police, or you don't file charges, or you don't do any of that. What we're talking about is on a kind of less violent levels of everyday interactions and things like that. We are trying to forgive people. We are trying to, um, release them from, anything that has happened. And the idea is, what they may have said or done to you, in their core, what they have said and done does not change their core. They are a spiritual being from God, and you are a spiritual being from God. And they have made some mistakes, and you have made some mistakes, and you are willing to forgive them and kind of remember who they are, and remember that they are a spiritual being from God. And you too will one day say something that will hurt somebody, and you will hope that they forgive you. And in the past, if you look back, you kind of know that you've done this too. That you've said things, or you've done things that have hurt somebody, and you hope they forgive you and release you from it. And so, in the same way that we want others to release us, we release others from anything that they've done. And so, what we're trying to do is bring a kind of spiritual perspective on events that happen in the world. And the idea is that if on a regular basis we are able to forgive, quickly and often, uh, nothing can really attach to us. It just drops away. Somebody um, is able to kind of use forgiveness as a way to glide. You know, you can either wear a suit made of sticky tape, and everything that anyone says kind of hurts you, and you're sensitive to it, and you're just kind of waiting for the blow, or waiting for the attack, or waiting for this, and you're kind of scanning the environment for threats. That's one way to live in the world, and another way to live in the world is kind of wear a suit where you just kind of let things glide, kind of see like a dolphin. You know how a dolphin kind of just glides through the ocean. It's beautiful. It's like nothing really sticks to the dolphin, um, and so you can kind of glide and let things pass, and you can say to Allah, I'm willing to let this go, um, and release this person, and remember who they are. And that can be a powerful thing, because what you're doing is you're restoring that person to their original identity. You're not seeing the person as a kind of a jerk. You're kind of remembering who they are on the inside, and that is a gift that you give them. That is a beautiful thing. It is a blessing that you give them. And when you are able to kind of react with blessing, rather than they said something, so I'm going to say something. And if you do that, then we're always fighting, we're always clashing. Um, but if you are able to respond respond with blessing to an attack, it lifts us to another level. It lifts us up, and you can feel yourself getting lighter, and kind of a little more like your vision of life and possibility expand. And again, I'm not saying in kind of very severe violent and abusive situations, that you do not, that you seek professional help and the help of local authorities and things like that. What I'm just talking about is kind of everyday kind of civil conflicts of you and your friends, you and your classmates, you and your coworkers, you and your colleagues, you and your neighbors, you and your other people in the community and things like that, on a kind of civil level, just kind of the ordinary daily kind of like conflicts and kind of butting heads that happen sometimes. People with different opinions. They want to go in this direction, you want to go in that direction, and so people say things and do things, and sometimes it's not pleasant and things. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about kind of more severe and harsher, more abusive situations where you definitely need to reach out for professional assistance and guidance. And so in this kind of practice of forgiveness, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to release us from the idea of victim and release the other from the idea of victimizer. So when we remember who we are and we remember that we are a spiritual being from Allah and we are strong, we have God-given strength. And we're not here to be pushovers. We're not here to have anyone walk all over us. We're not here to, bow down to anyone, because we bow down only to Allah. We bow down only to Allah. But at the same time, the person who comes at us and is, says something or does something that is hurtful, we can practice and try to find that place in ourselves where we remember who we are and we say, you know what, you're having a moment, you're having a day, I forgive you, I release you. This is not the true you, and the way I remember who I am, I want you to remember who you are. And at my core, I am good, so I know at your core, you are good too. You may be having a day, you may be having a moment, or this may be a kind of a reactive habit of someone, sometimes you work with people who just, when they are stressed, when they are going through something, they become very prickly and short in their conversations and harsher with their words and snap at you and things like that. And we can kind of learn to work with that. And I'm not saying be a pushover and have people walk all over you. Just there's a kind of dance. There's a moment to be firm, and there's a moment to be gentle and forgive and kind of set boundaries and things like that. And there's a lot of ideas available around this. And so this idea of forgiveness is very very powerful. And the Creator forgives us for our mistakes, the things that we unleash into the world. When He forgives us, He neutralizes the bad consequences of what we do, and He also neutralizes anything that is holding on to us, so that we can be free, and we can be free to create again, and we can be free to create something good. And so instead of saying, hey, you're a jerk, we can say, this isn't like you. What's going on? We're friends. Come on, you can tell me. And if I've said something that has offended you, I'm sorry. Let's talk about this. So like we can kind of make amends and try to reconcile. And so the idea isn't so much of forgive and forget. It's more of remember and reconcile. And remember who you are, remember who they are, and try to reconcile. And so this is the power of forgiveness that we have as beings from God, that we can use every single day.